Okay, so I will go first with my presentation and just a little background about this presentation. It's actually a part of a memoir that I wrote for one of my classes last semester. And it just highlights a small part of my life and small memories that have stuck with me. And I feel like it doesn't represent me at all 100%, but it's a small part of me. And so, yeah, and again, before we get started, not everyone has filled out the permission slips. So if you guys, can get those turned in, we appreciate it because we want to share this out on YouTube and all the social media. And okay, yes. Oh, and again, this is a safe space. So guys, feel free, to turn on your camera or make comments in the comment section. Okay, so my memoir starts off like this. It was Tuesday, November 3rd, election day. I am sitting on the couch wrapped in a blanket. I have my computer on, waiting for my class to start. This is one of the few classes in which the camera is required to be turned on. So I am forced to try and focus and not have my eyes glued to my TV. Anger, sadness, and uncertainty were all bottled up inside me, each one threatening to take over me. I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs for the unfairness of it all, for the many lives at stake. I wanted to cry because there was no way 4 more years could go by the way it had been. Questions like, what will happen to my future? Or, is it going to be worth pursuing higher education? Or overflowing my head? My dream is to work in healthcare. Being able to help others is my passion. That's why I wanted to be a nurse. However, because this is America, it can't always be that easy. I had started to get more involved with school doing things I enjoyed. While working on this amazing project, I got to meet new people. 2 future nurses, both of who were undocumented themselves, were telling my friend and I how they struggled and wanted nothing more but to help us. They gave us great advice. That was until they asked, do you have DACA? Sadly, I don't, I told them. And as soon as I did, there was a change in their expression that scared me. They proceeded to tell me that because I was undocumented, without DACA, I wouldn't be able to take a test that would get me a license in order to officially become a nurse and practice my profession in this country. I sat next to my friend, tears filled my eyes, and as hard as I tried to hold them back, they fought back twice as hard until finally I lost the battle and the tears poured out. My dreams had been crushed, my future destroyed. I looked over at my friend to find her too, with tears in her eyes. All we can do in that moment was just cry, together and comfort one another. My parents risked their lives to give my siblings and I a better future, something they sadly could not afford. They followed the so-called American dream, or the golden dream, and instead found themselves in a golden cage. There are many opportunities here, yet so much unfairness. These past elections have taught me so much about this country, but more importantly about myself. These experiences are who I am. I am an undocumented first-generation student who continues to fight her dreams alongside many others. The moments I have experienced have not only defined who I am, but are continuing to impact me. And so that's my short little story. Like I said, I am an undocumented first generation student still trying to navigate my way through life. I still don't fully know who I am. Just recently, I've been introduced to many other passions. And right now, I don't know if healthcare is where I want to be at. I do love it. I love helping people. But, maybe life will take me other places. And so now Sam will share her story. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alma. So I'll share my story now. All my focus has always been on education, nothing else, not even myself. First half of high school, I would have told you how I hated everyone, the world, and myself. I was in a low place because I had no personal identity. I had no idea what the heck I was doing on this planet. Everything I had been working towards was always for somebody else, until I had the biggest life check ever. Sure, being a hater can be healthy sometimes, maybe, but not all the time. So I changed my thought process and on the way learned to grow and have a sense of who I am. My focus was no longer on only education. My motivation was no longer anybody else. It's me and my future and my happiness and my goals and everything else. It took me so long to figure out what my parents meant. Sure, if you want to help us when you're older, go ahead, but work for yourself, they would always say. Set yourself up for success. I could tell you my whole story and the many things I realized and how they all relate to my personal identity and my growth. But I only have a few minutes and I need more than a few. Like Alma, being a first generation Latina undocumented woman, future educator maybe, currently student, has obviously played a huge part in my life, especially as I've gotten older. Lots of struggles, lots of tears, but many important life lessons. Many things that other people here will never realize or go through, but I think that's what a personal identity is supposed to be, no? Unique, different from everybody else's, different from how you looked at yourself just last week. So, yeah, I was that friend in Alma's story that she just shared, and I can tell you all that it's been really rough ever since that day. But you know, things are turning for the better, turning a new chapter, hopefully. So that's my story.
So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of like a nervous person. So forgive me if I like stutter or freeze. So my parents always told me to value the things they never had, like the food we eat, like today, like the toilet paper we use, uh, other stuff like the toys we had when we were little, and but especially like education. My dad always tells me like, "Oh, get a job where you don't have to use your like body, use your mind instead, because your mind lasts longer than your body." My dad grew up on a farm, and then he had to like work to eat and take care of his siblings. Those were like the most important things. They were like really important, and like he couldn't really like go to school because like he was like too busy doing that, and he said there was like no schools around. But for my mom, she did get to go to school. I was like, she said as young as she could remember, she like had to work in order like to pay for school. But like when by the time she finished like middle school, she like couldn't really like pay for it because like my grandma like would help them out like to pay for school, but like she like kind of decided to like help more like the males. I blame like the sexism. There was like two girls and four boys. So like when she kind of like had like a side hustle, like to cut hair, and then like I think like one of my uncles was like, "Oh, like go to this like school. I got you. Like I'll help you get in." And she got in and like she graduated from the little like schools and stuff. She even had like padrinos and stuff. But she was still kind of like sad that she didn't like get to keep going to like high school and then go to university. I asked her like, "What would you like to study?" She was like, "I don't know, like maybe like a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or like even an architect." I've grown to like value all the things they've had, they haven't had, and I feel like my mom's like dream of like wanting to go to school and keep going to like the university and getting a career kind of like lives in me. Since like my brother like decided to go to like a trade school, I was like, I feel like I said, her dream lives in me. Sorry about the stutter. I'm not like super religious, but I like believe like what Kendrick says. He says that God put us here on this earth to love, and that's our purpose. But like I believe that that's my purpose. I'd be more than like happy to like leave knowing that I gave all the love back to my friends and family. And education is a big part of me, and so are my parents. That's it.
That okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jair. That was great. I took it to my heart. Okay, so I will be presenting the last I guess story. So I'm just gonna start. This is my story about personal identity. And yeah, like a lot of us were saying in the beginning of the presentation, we're still young, so we don't like we still don't fully know who we are, obviously, and it's something that we'll always continue to learn. So never think that you know enough, because you don't. Trust me. Um, I was born and raised in Mexico, and I lived there with my brother and my parents until 2013, when we had to move because of the growing cartel violence in my city. Um, when I arrived in the United States, I learned that this was going to be our new life, and I hated it. I was instantly against it, but after a few weeks, I realized that there was really no coming back to our old lives. Um, we had left our house, our family, and our lives, and we had to begin new ones. I started going to school at the end of 5th grade, afraid that there would be no other kids who looked like me, but there was. And they looked like me, but they were born here, and I talked to them, but they couldn't understand everything I was saying. So our conversations were short to no conversation at all. Thankfully, after a few months, I learned English and began to talk to other kids, Hispanic kids, or from other races I never thought I would be speaking to. But as this was happening, I began to feel like I was turning my back on my life in Mexico. Every time I felt like I was having too much fun, or if something really good happened, I would force myself to think that I wasn't supposed to have this, because it wasn't the original life in Mexico I thought I was supposed to have. And I'm turning a page. And at the same time, being undocumented without DACA, and not being able to apply for DACA, provided more reasons for me to think like this, because our lives here could be taking our lives here could be taken from us at any day. I carried these feelings with me throughout high school, and it's not to say that this was on my mind all the time. I built relationships. I made a lot of friends. I had a good times, and I participated in school. I'm really close to a lot of people here, and adults like Mr. Rivard, Ms. Peroni included. And I found great friends who pushed me and inspired me every day. But occasionally the thought would creep in, and I began feeling like the gap between who I was in Mexico and who I was here grew wider every day. I started to feel like I couldn't relate to the quote unquote, or for lack of a better word, Mexican side of me. And examples are like when I used to or like when I talked to my uncles from Mexico, mis tíos, mis primos, and they're like, they come in the call and they say, ¿Me entiendes? O sea, no entiendes, no entiendes. Like they think that I don't understand like a joke or what they mean, and it's and I do. It's just that I don't know. It's like a strange feeling of them kind of thinking that because I live here I don't understand. And also another example, and from school, in Fort Vancouver, it's a really diverse school, and a lot of us know that there's like a lot of Hispanic kids, and there's Hispanic kids who speak English, and there's Hispanic kids who don't because they just arrived or for other reasons. And I just remember that, especially when I was playing soccer with friends for like the soccer team, and I mean we were all Hispanic, but we all spoke English too. And then like it would be like other Hispanic kids who didn't speak it, they would come to play, and they would always make fun of them and be like, "Oh, there go the Mexicans," and that would always make me feel a certain type of way because it was like why are you like if you're calling them the Mexicans, then what are we? You know. So those were like some examples. Sorry, I lost myself. I lost where I was. Oh, yeah, I just I felt like I couldn't relate to that Mexican side of me. Um, and the more I began to be involved in school or in my life with other people in general, the more guilty I felt because it felt as if I was saying goodbye to my old life. And I didn't want to do that because that part of my life made me who I am. But at the same time, I realized that everything I was doing here, all these activities, all the events I was going to, all the all the things I was doing or I was participating in, my relationship with my friends and staff at Fort and things like that, they were making me who I was going to be in the future. And therefore, I learned that I did not have to let go of my life in Mexico or my life in the United States because they both make me who I am here today, right now. Both English and Spanish are a part of me. I am a proud Mexican and a proud undocumented student. I love both American and Mexican cultures, and they're both a part of me. I love my religion and the world and the people outside of it. Estoy orgulloso de ser hijo de Soledad y Enrique, my parents. Estoy orgulloso de haber nacido en México y de vivir aquí. And finally, I am proud to be here speaking to all of you. Thank you. And that's it.